Yo, come one, come all, nothing but love, nothing but respect. You know what we do, what we don't, what we isn't, and what we is here today, bringing you guys and girls One Piece chapter 1052. Good morning, live discussion. I've got with me today Extra Brecky, aka Daniel. Say hello, my guy.
Hello, my guy.
Perfect, perfect, perfect. Um, what a bloody chapter, right?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
shit. Um, I don't like. I don't know where to begin. I guess we'll just start from the beginning and work our way through, right?
Mhm.
But the next couple of chapters are going to be crazy, and I don't know if you've seen the news that I sent out to you, but as of chapter 1054, we're going on a 1 month break, and that's
Yep.
the dead end stop of Wano.
Which is next chapter.
No, chapter after next.
Wait, really?
Yeah,
Oh, I thought there was two chapters to go, and that was like
after this
four.
chapter,
Ah,
which is intense to say the least. This chapter picks up with Germ 66's Cold Blooded Voyage, Volume 14, where the Vin Smokes are causing havoc in Whole Cake Island, and it turns out Gangster Gastino is still stuck there.
yep.
Um, I feel like, in a funny enough way, more and more stuff is stacking up for Cracker to get low diffed.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah, that's true. Caesar could do that.
Like, Caesar can, remove the oxygen, Reiju can poison the biscuit, so anything that touches it gets turned into poison. Ichiji and Niji could essentially go through the biscuit with the electrocution and that. And even if we just say Yonji's physically strong enough to semi defend against one of the crackers, it's like my boy's in a bad place right now, which is
Yeah,
bad
that's true.
because I still stand by the fact that he's probably one of the strongest third commanders. But it's just like he's just got really bad. You either clean get around his ability or you don't get around his ability at all.
Yeah, I get you.
So it's like I'm sitting here. I'm like, dude, I can't really think of this. I, I know they're not all Gear 4 level characters. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So it's like arguably a Biscuit Soldier should handle them each, but at the same time, it's like if they can just get the main one first before it escalates to that, it's going to be a quick wrap up,
Yeah, yeah, true.
which is rough. And I don't know. Do you think Caesar will end up joining the Germa?
Um, Not necessarily. I don't know. So part of me feels like Caesar could he could have that idea of like, well, why don't I rejoin with like Judge, and then who knows, maybe Queen goes back, and then now suddenly we have all the gang together again.
Oh, the
Could be the
re-emergence of
start of it.
Mad.
Yeah, that would be good.
That'd be interesting. Especially
Mm.
since, what, say we come off this cover story and Caesar escapes completely or joins up with Judge, and the next cover series to start is Queen.
Yep.
That could work.
Yeah, that could work, and it'd be interesting as well.
But, mind you, right, it's odd to say the least. I just gotta. With these cover pages or cover series, you really just have to sit back and just see wherever the hell Oda's gonna take it. You can theorize, but there's always really random stuff that happens.
Yeah.
So at this point in time, it's just gonna sit back, watch, enjoy the ride. It would be interesting because you'd have to say Caesar, as strong as Caesar is, he's probably got to be the weakest out of the Vinsmokes, right?
Yeah, I'd say so.
So it's like, uh, maybe he's stronger than Yonji. Who knows? You know what I mean? We know
Yeah,
they
yeah,
don't really have Haki, but I mean, at this point in time, you would almost expect them to have Sea Stones somewhere for certain abilities.
yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, it is what it is. But moving on, okay. This chapter, I don't know how well it goes time wise. Okay,
Okay.
um, because we open up the chapter at Merijawa, yeah,
Uh-huh.
and we've got the Gorosei talking about the fact that Big Mom and Kaido have been defeated or killed, and
Yes.
they're talking about how they can't cover it up anymore. The timing could not be worse to deal with this, right?
Yeah.
So my first thing is, again, we keep getting hinted at that the world, like the Marines or the world government, don't have enough manpower to deal with whatever the fallout was for that. But we still don't know what it is necessarily. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's true.
And it's like, the timing could not be worse. What do you mean the timing could not be worse for two emperors to be defeated? Is that because you're afraid of an influx of pirates trying to take over their territory? Or is that because you couldn't handle with capturing them if they've only just been knocked out, or worse yet, taking out someone that defeated them?
Right. Okay.
Because there's a few, like there's this obviously links more probably towards sort of dialogue that was being had throughout Wano when they were on the rooftop battle, but also somewhat when it was like the reverie. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But I'm struggling to comprehend this because like then we also cut to the other Gorosei. So we've got the seas around Wano, right? And they're like, Zoe's left. It just wandered into the mist and disappeared. And they're like, well, looks like we can't invade Wano, right? That makes no sense to me because they ordered the invasion of Wano if Kaido and Big Mom were defeated before Zoe showed up.
Right. Right.
So why is Zoe the deciding factor as to whether or not they can invade or not? And if it's just about the borders opening them up, did they already know that they were trying to open the borders of Wano anyway? So they were just expecting them to open the borders and then invade? Like,
Mm-hmm.
that doesn't make sense to me. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So it feels like Zoe and this invasion force were like a bit of a Chekhov's gun that never paid off.
Yeah, I get that feeling.
And I hate to jump to the like end, but like so we continue through and we've got the Gorosei talking, and I feel so sorry for this damn CP0 man because they're just like, yo, you escaped, you alive, battle's over, all right, go back up and get Robin.
Yeah.
And like the dude's just like,
We still
yo,
want Robin though.
my two comrades that were arguably stronger than me just got their asses kicked and died, right?
Yeah.
You want me to go back up solo? And he's like, yeah, 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 yeah. Like he's got the depressed mask on and everything. You know what I mean?
Yeah. He's just like, okay.
I would just be like, I quit. You couldn't. It took you how many years to deal with who's who, and it wasn't even one of
Yeah.
us. Nah.
You couldn't pay me enough, brother.
Yeah, dude. No way. Like, and especially with the way this chapter ends, right, which links into this. It's just like so. The Gorosei are here, the army's here, CP0's. Sorry, the Gorosei are ordering the army that's here and the CP0 member to go capture Robin and potentially deal with whatever threat they can if they can invade the country for whatever reason, right?
Yeah.
Then we go, someone's hijacking the signal and we get a listen up, bzz, bzz, who is this? Stay where you are, bzz, bzz, I'm on my way, bzz, right?
Yeah.
And then ignoring the next scene, right? We cut to a week later. And
Yes.
so, ignoring all the stuff that happens in Wano, like, let's jump right to the end, because, I mean, I hate to just jump straight to this, because it's a mad cliffhanger, but we skip right to the end, and it turns out the person that was telling the invading army to hold up was Green Bull, and he's, like, flying into Wano, and on the phone to Akainu, and Akainu like, tell me your exact position. He's like, I just said, Sakazuki, I'm in the sky. Be more specific. Oh, I can see Wano up ahead. You are not to do anything unnecessary. Understood, Green Bull. It's like, I know, I know already. Goodness, right?
Mhm.
To me, it's like, that implies the person that was cutting into the Marines transmit, or the world government transmission was Green Bull. Especially because he has his own unique dialogue in this chapter that's distinct from the others in terms of like the boldness of the writing.
Really, I always thought that it would be a completely separate person.
This is the thing that confused me because if you go back to the beginning of the chapter, right?
Hmm.
So it's at the beginning, you've got the emboldened lettering, right? And it's like, listen up, bzz, bzz, stay where you are, bzz, bzz, I'm on my way, bzz. And then when you cut to the last page, right?
Mhm.
When Greenbull speaks, you still get that same sort of oh, maybe not actually looking at it now, but when I was first reading it, I was going through and it looked like in the first draft and that it had emboldened lettering for Greenbull as well. Because we know that Green
Right.
Bull and Fuji also have like a bit of a unique speaking pattern.
Yeah,
So
Green
to
Bull to me comes off as being like really like kind of like weird, like airy, kind of like hippie,
hmm.
because of the
Well,
plants and stuff.
so this is the thing though, where it's like if that was him, why wait the week?
Yeah, right.
Why and like obviously this like the chapter ending saying Admiral Green Bull is in play. It's obviously implying that one of three things is going to happen. He's going to either try and start a fight. He's going to try and get Drake out because maybe he's got something to do with sword and all that, right? And he's just going
Yeah.
in as a one man army as like a as a rescue mission,
Yeah.
or he's going to thank the Straw Hats.
To thank the Straw Hats.
Yeah,
Yeah, right. For because he's a part of WANO and stuff.
like whether he's a part of Wano or whether it's because him and Fujitora sort of share in the idea of like the world government's not the perfect organization sort of thing. We're trying to, give thanks when thanks is due, and you guys took out two of the worst monsters in the world, sort of thing. Because it's like,
Yeah.
if it is him invading, it makes no sense for them to have waited a week. Yo, Sage in the chat, good to see you. It makes no sense for him to have waited a week, a full 7 days, right?
Mhm.
With a CP0 member present and all that stuff, to have not at least brought more forces with him.
Yeah. Okay, I could see that.
So it's like, like this cliffhanger here. At first, when I first read it, I was like, "Oh my god, this is crazy!" And then, like, taking a minute to digest the chapter, I was like, "This doesn't make a whole lot of sense yet." And the ways to make it make sense isn't as like badass as we necessarily would think or want it to be in a way, if that makes
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Because it's like, dude, if Greenbull just shows up and it's just like, yeah, he's buddy buddy. I'm not gonna lie. When it comes time to us fighting the world government or the Marines at the end, two admirals not really having it in their heart to fight us would sort of be a like, well, we never really get to see the admirals fight all out. Then you know what I mean?
True. And then the other thing is like we were kind of going through this a while back was it's pretty crazy to think like all of the people that are now on like Luffy's side, um like
Yeah,
like if Kid and Law and then like all of the army people and then like it's like Garp has the potential to flip, Fuji has the potential to flip, Kobe has the potential to flip, and then all these different countries would join him, and it kind of seems like, well, how are the world government ever going to beat Luffy then?
yeah.
um yeah, so they does, because the thing is that like it should feel like a nearly unwinnable war, right? That's the whole point. It should feel like, oh my god, how are we ever
Well,
going to win this, and then they just managed to win.
if Whitebeard and Roger had no shot in hell, right? We need to draw
Yeah.
the distinct line between them and Luffy. And it's like, at this point in time, like, the Grand Fleet is pretty powerful, and the Straw Hats are powerful, and they've got a lot of allies, and there's a lot of numbers. But it's like, at the same point in time, it's like, okay, with all the numbers that we've got on our side, right? The world
Hmm.
government pulled together 100,000 highly trained Marines for Marineford.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's like, in terms of fodder, it doesn't matter. And it shouldn't matter even more in a sense, because it's like, Conqueror's Haki really should come into play in a lot of those battles.
Yeah, yeah, I agree.
But I don't know. It's got me nervous. And the worst thing is, because of that thought process, it doesn't even have me sort of getting a hype or trying to think about like what Green Bull's devil fruit is or what his power is. I mean, we confirmed to see the flowers here. I know a lot of people were theorizing for ages that you'd have photosynthesis and be a plant zone or logia or whatever, like an earth zone or an earth logia. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
So it's
Hmm.
like it sort of takes a bit of the fun out of that, right? And Alternatively, and I just thought of this then, so this is just going to come out of nowhere and have nothing to do or no bearing with anything else, right? Sorry, I just super side tangent here. Being a flower Logia, the whole thing about Wano right now is they're trying to make Wano back into the lush forest that it was.
Yeah.
So is Granville just going to show up and be like, "Yo, but the Marines are nice. Here, look," and just undo everything Kaido did for the last 20 years?
What do you mean by undo?
Like,
Like help to heal the country?
yeah, like in the sense that it's like, you know how it's like all the barren wastelands now and like all the resources have
Oh
been
yeah, yeah,
mined
yeah.
and stuff.
With his plant power.
Yeah, just like,
Yeah.
yo, I just bring back all the natural life to Wano when we're back.
Yeah. What if it gets like a bit more hardcore where he's like, "Oh, I'll like do this for you right now, but you have to like swear to not be allied with like the pirates anymore," something like that. Now it's like he has to pick between honoring his people or kind of abandoning it.
I mean, I gotta say, right, and this isn't for agendas, right?
Mm.
But two Yonka got defeated, and you're strolling up alone. So either you're not going there to cause conflict, or you're confident that you can deal with something that took down two Yonko.
Sure.
Or at least protect yourself enough to get out of dodge if
We
stuff
just
hits the
kind of
fan.
like,
Nonchalanting. The
yeah,
Aokiji,
yeah,
the
yeah,
Aokiji sort of mantra.
yeah. Like, I'm sure I'll be able to handle it.
Yeah.
And they're like, you're not really.
But then again, like, following the consistent theming there, it's like, I mean, look at Kizaru. Kizaru was confident to go break up Kaido and Big Mom,
Mm.
right? And it's like, what, like, forget power scaling. It's just like, dude, the admirals are at least got the confidence to be like, yeah, we can go in, whatever.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Which is like,
I mean, to be fair, like if you have that level of strength, you kind of
but it's like,
do
dude,
it with
at
no
this point in
problem.
time, it's like, if it was one, it's like, yeah, that's fair. But you know, two Yonko got beaten, so it's like, you could beat something that beats one Yonko, fair enough. Like, you know, you
Mm.
feel like you're confident with that, but it's like, dude, you're going into a situation where you could get jumped at any moment.
Yeah.
Which leads me to be like,
Hey,
it's not going
when
to
you
be
think about
conflict.
it, it's like when you think about it, it's like if you imagine yourself in like a street fight, you're like, okay, well, I'm not going to definitely say that I could beat up anyone on the street, but then you also think about yourself versus like two people, and you're like, oh yeah, man, I'll just like duck and then punch and then
Yeah,
duck that guy and then and you can kind of convince yourself that you could beat up two
you're
guys.
your own hype man.
Yeah, while at the same time you're like, oh, I mean, I probably couldn't beat up anybody in a 1v1. It's like you're simultaneously like, honest and also just completely not.
Mm. Anyway, let's cut back to Wano, the internal struggle of Wano that's happened. All right.
Yeah.
And this will lead into Sage's question of what will happen to Law and Luffy's alliance, right? So we pick up before the 1 week time skip. So this is like immediately after Onigashima's dropped, right? Still on that night.
Right.
And we get this. I think this is maybe the best scene of the chapter, where we get this like back and forth with Hawkins and Drake, right?
Yeah.
I don't know about you, but like when I first saw this, I was like, oh shit, okay, so Hawkins is gonna survive. That's pretty BS. But I mean, like whatever. He lost an arm. He's pretty battered and beaten. But he goes on this mad back and forth monologue with Drake, where he's like, yo, you're a Marine, right? You're a snitch, and he's like, huh, you want me to answer that? And he's like, I got nothing to say, man. And he just sort of sits down, and Drake's like, "You look like shit, bro." He's like, "I thought your cards were meant to, predict whether or not you'd be good or not." And he's like, "Yo, man, when Kaido dropped down in front of me, Kid and Apu, I was done. I had no shot. I dipped. I backstabbed,
I
man.
did.
When the tide goes one way, and move to one side of the water, when the tide comes back the other way, you can't sort of expect it to sort of not overwhelm you. You know what I mean?"
Yeah, yeah,
So I really like this back and forth, but then just Hawkins just dies, man. Just bleeds out. And I was like, yo, this actually may be like one of the best deaths or most impactful deaths in One
yeah.
Piece.
I was like hella confused about that. I was like, wait, he's just dead? Like, huh?
I mean, it
The
makes
whole point of having
sense.
him
Like,
there was like, oh, I'm still alive, but no, he's just dead.
dude, it makes sense. Like, like his arm's gone. He's like spewing blood out of his arm as he's walking over to Drake, and he sits down. And you see this mad blood trail, and he's just like, "Oh, the person with a 1% chance of surviving was me," and just usses himself.
Yeah, it definitely does make sense.
Oh, I thought it made sense. Like, I liked it, but it was really like a teasing he's gonna be all right, and just be like, "Yeah, nah, I'm done with him."
Yeah,
You know what I mean? But
yeah,
leading back into like the Green Bull thing, Drake's alive here.
yeah,
Drake didn't, bleed out or anything, and being an ancient zone, he's supposed to have good recovery.
yeah.
So
True.
Drake should still be in Wano to some extent, but we also know going through the rest of the chapter that we don't see him with all the other Supernova and stuff like that.
Mhm.
And that's while we see people like Apu still up and kicking, which Apu. I I tell you what, I'm I hated Apu. Apu used to be one of my most disliked Supernova. He has
Mhm.
grown on me in the most cringy way possible. Like, at this point in time, like, Apu may be one of my favorite Supernova, just because of how, like, Robbie Rotten and, like, he's just a dastardly bastard.
Yeah, he is. Yeah, it's the same thing with Caesar, right? Like at the start, I just like with a passion hated Caesar, but then they turned him into a bit of a meme, and now it's just like, oh, Caesar, getting.
Yeah.
I think it's because his life is so terrible now
Yeah,
that you kind of like, yeah, you kind of there's no reason to
dude,
hate him anymore.
I have to give Apu so much props though, because it's like, the dude got betrayed by Queen, got cut down by Zoro's Lion Song, got bit in half essentially by Drake in his freaking Allosaurus form, right? And then had a
Yeah.
whole CP0, like had a whole ass CP0 man's hand inside him, and he's just like, he just keeps getting back up. It's just like, oh, keep going. And I love how even kids like, you're the snitch. You're the one selling the stories to like to the news and stuff like that.
Mhm.
I don't know. I love it. But also like, we're coming to a really quick conclusion here. But it's like the flower capital 7 days after the war, and we cut back to the school where the school has started teaching the proper history now. So they've replaced the propaganda teacher that was a gifter, and they're like starting to tell the original history and stuff like that. And you've got kids being able to actually drink and eat. And we cut over to the Paradise Farm next to Kozuki Castle, and there's bountiful food just being like taken around through the land, and people are able to eat and drink to their heart's content now. And then we cut and get full blown confirmation that Ashura Doji and Izo are dead,
Yes.
which,
To be fair, we thought it was going to be more people.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, we still don't know if there are more people, but they're just at least the scabbards. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But because what at this point in time, in terms of absolute confirmations, we've got Izo, Ashura, Hawkins, and Kaido, Big Mum. I think it's heavily implied that they died, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I think it is.
So it's pretty damn wild. I also love how you can see in all these panels Marco's on the roof, just like hiding on the roof.
He's just chilling.
Yeah, dude. My guy Marco,
Freaking
really,
love Marco.
dude.
He's like, his just whole attitude is just like so chilled.
I
He's like, ah, damn, I lost another one.
I thought of this right, where you know how people's personalities reflect their devil fruit. No wonder Marco's the person that's constantly losing people because he's the only one that emotionally can heal back from it.
Yeah, right.
You
I
know what I
get
mean?
it.
Like he lost Thatch, then he lost Ace, then he lost Whitebeard, then he lost Ezo. I mean, he lost Odin too, and in a weird, twisted way, he lost Blackbeard. He lost Teach.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? So I was like, the dude probably outside of outside of Brooke, Robin, Laura, and Dofi, he's probably got the saddest backstory at this point in time.
Yeah.
Like everyone he knows is dropping like flies. Not to mention, I mean, like, I just listed off Whitebeard, Ace, Odin, Thatch, Ezo, and Teach, right?
Mhm.
But we also know 16 division commanders have been defeated and killed by Weevil.
Yeah, and 16 is a fucking lot.
So my guy in the last 2 years has lost 21 of his close friends.
Yep.
At least at this point.
Yep.
Like, legit, unsung, absolute unfortunate man. So, RIP, love goes out to Marco. And then we sort of get the cute and fuzzy bits and pieces with Yamato and an adult Momo, including the beginning of the banquet where Luffy and Zoro don't recognize Momo, and I love how Chopper is like just chilling on Zoro's head,
Yeah.
like just like it's my big guy Zoro, but this leads into a gag where Momo grabs Nami's boob and Nami beats the crap out of him, and Sanji and Brook are just like, vindication.
Hold it.
Yeah.
Hold it.
Yep.
I mean, to be fair, it wasn't hard to call. But
And look, I'll gloss over the bath scene because it doesn't really, it's just a gag,
I think it was cool because you have was it Kiku
Kiku and the
being
girls
in
and Yamato and the boys.
and the boys? Yeah, I think that's
Yeah,
pretty cool.
it's quality, man. It's quality. And then we cut to Takage Port, where all the ships for the Supernova are being touched up and fixed. And we can see how big they are compared to Shogun and Frankie. And Shogun and Frankie's been repaired too. And you got all the kid pirates and the law pirates like Sugoying over the General Frankie.
Yeah.
So like Frankie's getting those mad props. And then we get probably the biggest cliffhanger for next week. The newspaper announcing everyone's new bounties is here. And it also includes the news that there will be newly dubbed Emperors of the Sea.
Oh yeah.
And so this is where we'll come into the conversation. So to answer your question, Sage, what will happen to Luffy and Law's alliance at this point in time? The alliance will officially disband. Unofficially, they're still on good terms. So they won't fire upon each other at sea at this point, at least, right? Um, so there's three things to sort of deal with in this newspaper, right? Number one is the new bounties for people. Number two is who's been newly dubbed the new Emperors of the Sea. And number three is what is a new Emperor of the Sea. Yo, Kuma, good to see you in the chat, my guy. And I'll start with three because notice how they say newly dubbed Emperors of the Sea, but they don't use the word Yonko. So
Right. Okay. So there might
could
not be 4, or there could be even more, or
there
there
could
could
be
be less.
more or less than four now.
Yeah. It does also kind of seem like it's still possible that it could like just be Luffy, but it is to me it feels like it's kind of implying that there could be
Kid or Law.
yeah, that there could be that there should be
Yeah.
more than one.
Yeah.
Like to me, I'd be surprised if there
So
isn't more than one.
so I definitely think it'll be more than one, but the problem is, are we talking two or three or what? Because
Right.
and hear me out for this, right? This this is actually more than just what happened in Wano. You know what I mean? Because Law and Luffy beat Dofi, and they got 500 mil each. Yeah.
Hmm?
So I would say personally, I feel like what happened there thematically is Dofi, if he had an unfrozen bounty, would be about a bill, right? He's shown to be, as dangerous as Jack and whatnot. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
So they got half of his bounty each. I think Law and Kid are going to get a bounty of about 2,150 mil, give or take a little bit,
Shit.
which is impressive, right?
Yeah.
But I don't think they're necessarily going to get the title of Yonko here, even though they defeated a Yonko, because Law and Kid don't necessarily have a large crew nor large territory, correct?
Correct.
But behind the scenes, do you know who does have the reputation and territory at the moment?
Who?
The newly disbanded warlords.
Right. That would actually be a really good, kind of like tricky thing.
Yeah. Because, hear
Yeah.
me out here, right? Physically,
Everyone's thinking like everyone's mind is only on like, okay, who out of the people at Wano?
yeah.
It could actually just be like, oh, it's also, this person as well.
Because, hear me out on this, right? There's a few avenues in the warlord. Because Weevil and Mihawk are implied to be sort of Yonko-ish level,
Hmm?
right? So they could get it based on their might alone, arguably. But they don't
Yeah.
have the influence and the territory. I would argue, realistically, it would be Boa, because she's got all three types of Haki. She lives on an island of Haki users, and they've got territory. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So she's got the biggest organization out of the remaining group, yeah?
Yeah.
But it could also be Buggy.
Buggy.
I know that might be, and this is why I'm like, I don't know if it's just going to be 2 and go back to 4 emperors, or if we're going to get more or less. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because before this, right, we had Kaido, Big Mom, Blackbeard, Shanks. Before this arc fully took off, Blackbeard was implied to be going somewhere to do something, and Shanks was implied to be going to try and stop him in some capacity.
Hmm?
For all we know, Blackbeard could have defeated Shanks off screen at this point in time in the story.
True.
Right? So we don't know if Blackbeard's the only current Yonko from that gen still up and kicking.
Yes. True.
Or if it's Blackbeard and Shanks, and we're trying to replace Kaido and Big Mom. And so it gets into this really sticky situation where it's like, if you run down the public perception of Buggy, right?
Hmm?
Just based on like stories and stuff like that from what's been seen in the narrative so far, it's like, oh, Buggy, he's the apprentice of Gold Roger, sworn brother of Red Hair Shanks. He joined Luffy in breaking out of Impel Down. He joined Whitebeard in the invasion and assault on Marineford 2 years ago, right? He's actively damaged Straw Hat Luffy's treasure, the Straw Hat, and defeated Roronoa Zoro once in single combat. He's clashed with Mihawk. He's clashed with all 3 admirals.
Yeah. That's true. I mean, he would have a rep.
At this point in time, based 100% on just the legend of Buggy,
Hmm?
he probably has the best portrayal in the series. Like, if you got that rundown from a new character that you had no idea about, what would you think?
Yeah, you'd think they're an absolute fucking machine.
Yeah, right? But then on the flip side, you've got someone like Boa, right? Who, and just from a narrative perspective, Oda does tend to sort of include like one female at least in a group.
Hmm?
So maybe Boa picks up Big Mum's mantle, having defended her island from the Navy's advances, being strategically set up in the Calm Belt, so it's hard to get to start. She's got an island of Haki users. Her island's built like a fortress, and she's a Haki user of all 3 kinds of Haki. You know what I mean? Because at this point in time, Kid and Law having 2v1'd Big Mum and getting a TKO is impressive from a combatant standpoint, but they don't have the driving force behind them for that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I get what you mean.
But then you could always see the flip side of it and go, well, if it is just talking about pure strength, again, instead of Law and Kid, wouldn't it be Mihawk?
Yeah, true.
So, because it's one of those weird things where it's like, Luffy, whenever someone beat a warlord, they don't just replace the warlord, do they, with the person that beat them?
No.
So why would they do the same thing with Yonko?
Hmm.
So it's like, really in this multifaceted section of the story where we don't know who's still up, we don't know who's still running, we don't know who's a contender, because arguably, like we were saying in the past, SSG should have been strong enough to take out the warlords, right?
Yeah, right.
So it's like, for the world government to not be a complete flop, right?
Mm.
Some warlords need to have been defeated. So which ones are they? And alternatively, if there was going to be a warlord that maybe would have arisen to the level of Yonko, who would it be? I could definitely see a situation where Blackbeard, Shanks, Luffy, and Buggy are Yonko. You know? So you've got
Mhm.
2D and two former Roger Pirates as the Yonko.
I can see that.
And I'm pretty sure whether it's volume 24 or 25, there's actually a cover where all four of them are on the cover as well. And it's the introduction of the naming scheme of the Yonko back in Jaya,
Right.
which would be well thought out from Oda's part.
Yeah, for sure.
But I don't know, chat. What are you thinking? I haven't gone through this. We have a hell of a lot of comments here. All right, let's go through. How does Yamato joining the crew change the dynamic, i.e., new friendships? Like, who would gravitate to her, like Frankie and Chopper, or Nami and Usopp, as well as the power dynamic? Power dynamic, she stays equal where Jinbei is in terms of dynamic on the crew. She joins. She joins Luffy and Zoro in like the idiot run-in, no thoughts trio. You know what I mean? like like the like you know how like Nami will
She
be
is
like,
like that, isn't she?
you know how Nami will be like, oh Sanji, I'm scared that Luffy's gonna go do something stupid, go keep an eye on him, and Sanji will come back and be like, I failed, he
Yeah.
just ran off, you know what I mean? And Zoro just
Yeah.
goes in the wrong direction and does the same thing. I feel like she'll be like that. Also, in terms of her bounty, I am really leaning towards the idea that she doesn't get a bounty because she'll just inherit Odin's, and they won't know the difference between her and Odin for a while.
Yeah, I'm feeling that as well. It would be cool.
It would add to the bounty gags in One Piece. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it would. Yeah, for sure.
Uh, Buggy has territory connections with Red Hair, supply weapons like Kaido, have a decent crew with Alvida and Mister Three. So Buggy does have not a bad crew. Like Alvida's immune to blunt force damage, right? He's got Kabaji and Moji, even Richie the Lion. He's still got heaps of impelled down prisoners as his crew. So Buggy is well off, right? And if it wasn't for the 5 giants that left his crew to join Luffy, he would have been balling in it right now. But it'll be interesting because would it make sense to make Buggy a Yonko if they only sent Stainless after him to defeat him? You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's hard because what you're explaining is to me that's like Buggy was already kind of like on the tipping point of like, oh my god, maybe we should be really scared of this guy. And then as soon as Luffy gets his awakening, now Buggy's clout is like, okay, it's confirmed now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like before that, it was like, man, he clashed with a lot of really strong people, and he has a lot of really like crazy connections. Like, God, we should, should we watch him? He doesn't seem that strong, but should we be watching him? And now suddenly it's like, oh, and he's the rival, like he calls himself the rival of like Luffy and shit like that. It's
Yeah.
like, yeah, okay, yeah, we got to pay attention, and especially if he escapes Stainless, like,
Or
and,
worse
and
yet,
maybe like Stainless, in order to like sort of save himself some clout, he like talks Buggy up a little bit.
I know this may be sort of controversial, but I actually think in a battle, well thought out, Buggy could probably take Stainless.
I mean, yeah, like that's the thing is we got to think Buggy's probably been growing.
No, no, not even growing. Like, I think people really underestimate the Buggy Ball and the Buggy Ball. We saw it take out like 5
Oh, it's
buildings in
huge.
a town and stuff like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's
It's like,
true.
and
Because like as long
Stainless
as
is a
Stainless
swordsman.
isn't one of those, yeah, as long as Stainless isn't one of those beasts that can just like eat a cannonball with his
But
face, you know what I mean? Like,
but even if he could, right? Say Buggy shoots like a Muggy Ball at him, and Stainless is like, "Oh, I'll just cut it, this useless cannonball," and then it just does a massive explosion that he wasn't expecting, and he's injured from that. Then goes to fight Buggy, and it's just like a bad matchup, sending a swordsman after Buggy, and then Buggy's
yeah,
crew jumps Stainless.
yeah, okay,
You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
And like you know me, I'm one of the first people to be like, don't underestimate the Vice Admirals. They're stronger than a lot of people give them credit. Like you need to buff them. But it's like getting jumped in One Piece is a problem.
Yeah, definitely.
You know what I mean? Especially when people perfectly counter your abilities. Because I don't think a lot of people really necessarily register enough that Buggy's immune to all slashes and Alvida's immune to all blunt force damage. They are a
Yeah, they
powerhouse
are.
duo.
Yeah, they are a powerhouse. They really are.
Like, between the two of them, they could beat a lot of people in 2v1s.
Hmm.
Just out of sheer BS. Okay. Kuma wanted to shamelessly plug his novel coming out in December, so plugged there, my guy. You're welcome.
Hey, what's it called?
Um, yeah, drop it in the Discord if you want, my guy, when it drops or whatever. Feel free to promote it, my guy. We always like promoting creativity, don't we?
Hmm.
All right. Buggy was also at Marineford and made a huge impact with the freed prisoners for sure. King needs wife as an emperor, at least, man. Yo, speaking of wives, so Suru is dead, right?
Yeah, as far as we can tell.
R.I.P. Like, she really should not have died. I feel like that should have been the
Yeah,
one reward Kinemon got. But,
to keep her.
I mean, like, the dude that took her out, Holden, though, wasn't even at the banquet, so we don't know what happened to Holden.
Yeah, right.
I could see like the Queen cover page series like starts up and like Queen comes to and like Hold'em's like dragging him off like we need to get out of here. They're kicking our ass. Um, the only issue with Mihawk being an emperor is that he doesn't have a crew or any real territory that he occupies. I understand. That's why Mihawk. See, to me, giving Kid in Law the status of an emperor doesn't make sense because they may have a crew, but they don't have the territory. Kid having one island is no different to Mihawk having the Muggy Kingdom. And if it's going to be like that and based off strength, you would probably give it to Mihawk over Kid. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
Um, like I'm just talking like from a narrative in the world. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I get you.
Uh, I need a rehashing my One Piece geography. Um, are we going to go into the other 3C north, south, and west? Do you know what? It would actually be really cool to see next chapter everyone's reactions around the world to the bounties, right?
Hmm?
And so you know how we get the normal run through of all the people that's like we've met for Luffy up until this part of the journey?
Yeah.
If we cut to various kingdoms around the world that are reacting to like Kid's bounty and Law's bounty, places where they helped or caused trouble.
Yeah, that would be cool.
That little bit of world building would make me feel happy. I'm not gonna lie. My only issue with Yamato joining the crew is that it feels really forced. I'm all for it, and I love another female addition, but I don't know. I give Yamato joining the crew a 6 out of 10. I think Yamato's definitively joining the crew at this point in time. She's too buddy buddy with Luffy, and Luffy
I
likes
think
her.
Yeah, I think she is as well, but I kind of agree. I felt like Yamato was a bit like it makes a lot of sense with her fruit and everything for her to stay on Wano and like be the protector of Wano kind of thing. And then and then that way, like it'll be kind of like Yamato is essentially Boa, where because because Momo isn't a fighter, he's just sort of like leading what Wano, but
Yeah.
she's like the captain of their quote unquote pirate crew, and she's essentially just Boa, right? She leads
Yeah.
the Wano pirates. I thought that would always be really cool, but I agree it does kind of seem like she's joining the crew.
Look, I still don't 100% toss out Carrot joining as well, but I feel like it's just been thrown on a back burner, so it's probably not going to happen.
Mm.
But it's to me like the reason why it's hard for Yamato is because it's so late in the game and she was such a new introduction and we know so little about her that we don't have time to grow to decide to love her. Whereas like if Kinemon joined the crew, he's been in the story for a third of the story at this point.
Yeah, true.
You know what I mean? Like Jimbei was in half the story before he even joined the crew. Like you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
It's like we had set up for like Luffy went out and picked Zoro. We already knew about Nami early on, right? We had heaps of moments where we needed a crew, we needed a chef, we needed a musician, we needed a doctor, we needed a shipwright. We actively wanted people. The reason Yamato feels out of place is because she wasn't set up early in the series, and she doesn't fulfill a role that was wanted in the series. So she doesn't quite have that same necessity in the crew as a lot of other characters have. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I get you.
Yeah, and at the end I say I'm gonna join the Four Emperors and become king of. Oh, okay, sorry. What's that? You also got to think, being the weapon in the weapons business, Buggy probably has fitted himself out with all sorts of trinkets. Yo, I 100% agree with that. You got to think that not only her, but the symbology of her joining the last member of the has a connection to Ace, like carrying Ace with him to the field in line where Luffy couldn't free Ace from his. I understand what you mean. But, like Jinbei's also got a connection with the Ace, so it makes sense for the New World trio if we got 3 New World characters to all have connections to Ace. I'd so be on board for Buggy being the new Emperor. See, the problem is with Buggy being the new Emperor, I don't dislike it, but I feel like if that's the case, and the fact that we're saying Emperor's here and not Yonko, is would Oda leave it at 4 or would he make it 5? Because you even had the whole thing of Luffy being the 5th Emperor. You know what I mean?
Yeah, true.
So it's like, could that have been a hint that, oh, we're going to have 5? So say it's Shanks, Blackbeard, Luffy, Buggy, and maybe Kid. You know what I mean? Because say Kid got the credit for taking out Big Mom because of the big laser that he shot down.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It would make sense in those aspects, and then like as the group expanded, it really dilutes the meaning of it. You know what I mean? Because at this point in time, like we know Kid ain't doing shit. We know Buggy wouldn't do shit against an Emperor. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like at this point in time, it's like the title starts to lose as much meaning. But that is unless like some other crazy stuff happens around the world. You know what I'm saying? Like Weevil. I know that's gonna sound really random and out of nowhere, right? But like, since Oda's introduction of Weevil, right? Do you remember the interviews that came out where like Oda said to his editors, like, oh, I've made this character. It's gonna be Weevil, related to Whitebeard, and he's like, oh, cool. And then he saw the design. He's like, oh, I hate this character. This is crap. And then Oda apparently like told him what Weevil would do in the story, and he's like, okay, this is an awesome character.
Yeah.
It's like, at this point in time, Weevil has done nothing. You know what I mean?
Big true.
So I'm like, okay, could you have sort of like a new coming? I mean, realistically, like I haven't even given it a good enough example. What's to stop Katakuri just becoming an emperor?
Yeah, true.
Like, they've already got the territory. It's no different to what Marco did. You know what I mean? So, for these people to be dubbed emperors now, something has to change fundamentally. I think in the dynamic of the world.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. It's a bit hit or miss. It's gonna be crazy though. Like what? Say we've got 2 chapters left in WANO. So say next chapter we start to see around the world, and then it ends with the reaction of the bounties. And then the last chapter's Green Bull having shown up.
Yeah.
Then we just get to see what happens around the world. Like, think about that. We've got the whole Warlord stuff, the Rev stuff, whatever Light In wanted to extinguish. Not to mention them trying to send bloody CP0 back in to capture Robin. Like, what if that's what Green Bull's doing? Green Bull's coming in for a solo mission to kidnap Robin and get out.
It'd be pretty cool.
Like, it'd be crazy, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it would.
And I mean, based on him being plant powers and stuff like that, I mean, we've seen Luffy punch a hole in a tree with his new Rio Haki, but it's like, there could be some crazy, like, I'm thinking like some Hashirama BS where there's like a forest like running at you, grabbing you and pulling you down sort of thing, while he just tries to run away. So there'll be some crazy stuff. Oh god, we've got a lot of messages here. That's good though. That's good. You got to think that not only. Oh no, we've already gone through that. True. Maybe it would happen and just too fast for me. That's all. Like the pacing and shoving in felt really rushed. Ace left his legacy and love in Yamato and the desire for travel. Luffy has no one really on the crew that he can talk about Ace with on a personal level, and now the recent two members, Jinbei and Yamato, have. Like the backstory is good, but the process in which it was delivered was meant to me. To me, I feel like if Yamato joins the crew, we are going to get more about her backstory involving her mother when it's more crucial, and that might be where Kaido's other backstory sort of comes back into the story in some capacity. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I get you.
Because it's hard. Sometimes we get more information about Straw Hats, and sometimes we get no information about Straw Hats in a weird way. Um, okay. Plus, Zoro getting Enma to me was a bit of a cheap power creep. I mean, that's implying that Zoro still keeps Enma. For all we know,
But
Zoro's.
even then, if he just uses Enma to like get stronger and then gives it away, is kind of like I'd rather him have to actually learn how to tame Enma than him
Mm,
just like use it as a power. It's like literally taking a power pill. Like
it is.
Luffy fought, it's like, oh, and Luffy has to fight Cracker and this and this and this. Oh, and and then Zoro gets a sword and takes a power pill, and now he's incredibly strong.
Yeah, it is a bit of a BS power. But I like to think of it as like it was training wheels for him to forcibly learn the new type of haki. And now that he knows it, he can get rid of the sword and he can effectively do it without it. You know what I mean? It was a key to a door as opposed to the pathway to the end.
Hmm.
The end of Big Mom and Kaido to me is the biggest written blunder Oda has ever made. So much potential just to end up punched into lava. Just me personally, I suppose. I felt so rushed. Look, I think part of that is the community as well. Like, as a community, when we theorize and when we come up with ideas for what should happen or what sounds like a good thing to happen, we build up higher expectations. But at the same point in time, at this point in the story, Oda needs to pay off certain expectations. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I get you.
Like, I know we've talked about this a lot, right? But Oda's comments about the big punch. I wouldn't have had the expectation that that hit wouldn't have taken out Kaido if Oda had never said that. You,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
you know what I mean?
yeah, definitely.
Sometimes Oda and the editors need to be quiet and just let the story speak for itself, than to give commentary on something and it to build
Yeah.
unreasonable expectation.
Yeah, like if he says, I don't think the series should go in this direction, and then he takes the series in that direction,
Yeah.
kind of, yeah.
A best example is Wano's going to make Marineford look like filler. And in a lot of ways, Marineford is filler because Marineford was a side story. You know what I mean? So I understand that. But realistically,
Yeah, but as soon as you say that, everyone's thinking, oh my god, it's going to be this insane thing.
and I mean, let me ask you point blank, chat you too. Like in your eyes, has Wano's has Wano overall taken Marineford? Were the highs of Wano bigger than the highs of Marineford, and were the lows of Wano higher than the lows of Marineford? Because
Personally, I think Wano was better than Marineford.
okay,
I think it was just because the thing was that you got to see the main character in that Whitebeard position, and you got to see him growing and getting stronger and learning about his powers and stuff. Whereas with Marineford, it was just like, hey, I'm this really cool pirate Whitebeard, and I've been awesome since ages ago, and check out how awesome I am, that kind of thing. So it was really cool and badass and awesome, but it was kind of like, wow, yeah, Whitebeard's really cool. Okay, moving on now, back to Luffy and his
mm.
crew.
No,
It felt more pointless, whereas this one feels like really significant.
it did feel like a side story, and that's what I like. I did point blank understand like when Oda was saying that, I was like, there's a possibility that what he means Marineford will look like filler is Marineford was a side story, and this will focus on the main character, not side characters,
Yeah,
which
yeah, yeah.
it did effectively. But it's like if you look at the highest points of Marineford, you had what Ace revealed as Roger's son. You had the introduction of the Whitebeard pirates. and their powers, which was badass. You had the introduction of the final admiral and a showcase of all the admiral's powers, including Sengoku, which was pretty badass. You had the back and forth and resulting in the Impel Down breakout group. You had the pacifistas rolling up, which was ridiculous. You know what I mean? You had Mihawk showcasing his abilities. You had all sorts of back and forths. You had the rise of Blackbeard. You know what I mean? So there was a lot of really high moments, and I know a lot of people like you could probably even if you didn't say that Marineford was the best arc, you could probably point to more hype moments in Marineford than any other arc in the series before this. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it was a very condensed, well put together, concise, and impactful 30 chapters. Whereas this, being 5 times the length of it, was it was great, but at the same time, it's like some of the best moments of Wano weren't about Wano. You know what I mean? Like if you put them side by side, it's like, dude, you got Blackbeard's bounty, you got all 4 Yonko bounties, Whitebeard and Roger's bounty, you got the Rock's backstory, you got the Odin flashback, right? You got chapter 1000 and the big the Supernova versus Big Mom and Kaido. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like definitively, those moments are probably better. You know what I mean? But because it wasn't as condensed and necessarily as well polished as Marineford, it did cause a bit of unfair expectation of, is this going to surpass Marineford yet? Has this surpassed Marineford yet? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I get you.
Which is, I think, maybe is an unfortunate of watching it or reading it week to week as well. Because, having all of Wano in volume form and sitting down and reading it start to finish is probably going to be one of the best experiences you can do by the end of the series.
Yeah, it's like that's the thing. It's definitely going to be like at the end of the day, it'll be a really cool arc, especially if you like read it through, because it'll just be like like when we're watching it, it was like remember that time when it was like 10 chapters in a row that were just like 10 out of 10.
Yeah.
Can you imagine reading that? It would just be like this most hype experience
Yep.
because it's just like constantly like oh awesome, oh awesome, oh awesome.
Yeah. Whereas, it was great. It's a great arc, right? The problem is because of the week to week aspect, and I'm not gonna lie, I wasn't week to week in Marineford and stuff like that. So when I analyze Marineford, I know the start, middle, and end, and I analyze it from start, middle to end. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Whereas Wano, I was here week to week, so every week I had the luxury of spending a week analyzing what was happening and what would make sense in the best possible situation or the worst possible situation to move on. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
we could nitpick a lot more with this arc. It was a bigger arc, potentially more ambitious. I don't know if you'd say this is more ambitious than Marineford or what. It was a good arc,
Yeah.
regardless. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Okay, let's look at the chat here. Heck, I didn't even get a short backstory for Hawkins before he kicked the bucket. He's a bloody supernova. Yeah, I get that. I didn't necessarily need a flashback from everybody, especially since the Viva cards were coming out and you got information like the backstory for Ulti in page 1. That sort of stuff was like, okay, that's cool. It's not needed in the story, right? But considering this arc began with what was his name? Is it Ushimaru, the sumo wrestler? I feel like we could have cut stuff like that out earlier in the arc. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And what would you rather have? Ushimaru and Luffy have like a back and forth sumo match, which is fun. It is fun. Or would you rather get like a backstory for Hawkins?
Yeah, that's true.
Like, it leaves a lot to be desired, unfortunately. That being said, it is still really fun. And I'll go through some of these comments here. So, okay. Sage got that detail. Imagine if Green Bull armored up over some ironwood bark. That stuff is hard. That'd be cool to see like a harkied up tree. That'd be kind of fun. Because imagine
Yeah.
if so you know how Logia normally is an element, and when they get damaged, they can reform.
Yep.
Imagine if Green Bull, as like a plant zone, gets damaged and he can just regrow the plant together.
Right. Yeah, that's true.
That would be a very cool mechanic. Like his wood just
Yeah,
regrows back together and fuses together.
that's true.
Nearly
I mean,
instantly.
hey, yeah, I was gonna actually. I don't know if it's possible. I don't know if it's possible for Green Bull to fight. Because it's in 2 chapters. You know what I mean? Like
So
we have 2 chapters for that to happen.
he
So I
may
don't know
not
if it's possible for him to show up in
he may
that.
not fight here, but he may fight eventually. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I think of this as like the Aokiji introduction. Shows
Mm-hmm.
up, face reveal, cool display of power. Maybe he's really tricky to deal with. Achieves his objective and dips. Especially with
Yeah,
Akainu being on the phone, being like, "Don't engage unnecessarily."
I just mean I don't even think he's gonna like clash because like think about like there's 2 chapters. We need to wrap up the whole of WANO arc. So at the end of this, it has to be like we're heading out, like we're sailing off. Two
Mm.
chapters. So like for him to have a clash, it would take up like even if it's like a short like a couple of attacks back and forth, it'd be like half of a chapter at minimum, even if it's like a few like you know what I mean.
Yeah.
And I'm imagining like if he does clash, because what I was gonna say is like if he does clash, it would be interesting if it was just kind of like he just kind of like bat around with Luffy for a little bit, and then maybe Green Bull is an awakened zone, and then he explains to Luffy what being an awakened zone is like, and that's how Luffy, because he's got to learn it somehow, right? Luffy's gonna have to figure that out somehow.
Maybe. Or, because we don't have an objective of where to go next, do we?
No.
What if Green Bull successfully just kidnaps Robin in the next 2 chapters?
Whew.
And,
Is that his goal or is that CP Zero's goal?
well,
Because that's the thing is what we're going to see now is we're going to see CP0 has one objective and they're getting told what to do by the Gorosei. Meanwhile, Green Bull is
Green
there
Bull.
for some reason and he's
Yeah,
being told what to do by Akainu.
yeah,
And they've had that little beef in the past, right,
yeah.
where they don't necessarily agree on things.
So, if he is there for Robin, think about this. Kidnaps Robin, dips, Straw Hats leave to go chase after, and maybe that leads into an introduction arc for Vegapunk.
Yeah,
Where
see, my original thought with the bzz, bzz, I'm coming, it's like, okay, well, who has the ability to hack into Den Mushi network? Someone who's very smart,
Admirals.
Vegapunk.
Look at Kizaru. Kizaru with his little black Denden Mushi on his arm.
Mm.
So, if well, let's see. Let's scroll at the end here.
But
Can't really see
wouldn't
Denden
they
Mushi.
just have one that can clearly communicate with anything? Because with the biz to me, that's like he's hacking in. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? Like
So
he's
that's
hacking into the network.
what the black Denden Mushi does. It like hacks into different Denden Mushi networks.
I just thought it would be like a skeleton key where he's just able to talk on any network. He doesn't necessarily have to like hack in, so he'll be able to speak pretty clearly.
Mm. It's hard and it's interesting. You know what I mean? Um, okay. Chat seems to be saying that Marineford was definitively more impactful. Damn,
Impactful.
like better than Wano.
Okay. I don't know if I agree.
See, no, it's hard. It's hard. I want to go back and reread Wano start to finish. You know what I mean?
Look, I
Without
think
my
like Ace's death was like pretty friggin' huge. I think that's a big tick in Marine Ford's sort of benefit is that like you had like a major character death that
two,
like everyone actually genuinely really cared about.
because
Like
like
you know what I mean? Like you had deaths in this, but it wasn't like no one's
I
crying about Denjiro dying.
I ended up feeling more for Whitebeard's death than Ace's death by the end of it.
Yeah.
Like I know that might be bad. Like I loved Ace, and I
Kind
was
of
like,
expected
no.
Whitebeard to
But
die.
when
So
Whitebeard died like a damn man on his feet, and I was there just like, Damn,
But
this
to
old man.
me, like Ace dying so kind of like pathetically was a bit more emotional. Just like, thank you all for loving me so
Mm.
much, and then he's just watching them all get slaughtered for him as he dies, and it's kind of like, oh,
Like, weirdly enough, Marineford sort of ended where the beginning of this raid started, in a sense, where it was like it's because like as long as Marineford was like a really one-sided battle that ended really quickly.
yeah,
Like Jozu broke his arm, Ace died, Whitebeard died by the end of it. There were heaps of other people injured. Jinbei was comatose. Luffy was comatose. The Marines had essentially lost no one top tier. It was a landslide. You know what I mean? It
yeah,
didn't
yeah.
it didn't look like it because thematically it was like, this glorious cinematic like a Lord of the Rings battle. But it was like, dude, it's like the difference between if the ghosts didn't show up in Return of the King.
Yeah, right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like the ghost that was Shanks at the end, just like I've
Mhm.
come to stop the war, and everyone's just like, well, shit, okay, we're done. All right. One reaction would be interesting. Oda said she wouldn't be pretty strong, or maybe to that leaves intelligence. Vegapunk also tends to tender between world government and the revolutionary. To me, look, this is one of the problems where the reason why we have an idea that Vegapunk might work for the revolutionaries is because he was lenient with Kuma, right? And because he's been an outlaw in the past. But we're assuming a lot about Vegapunk here, and this is another fan expectation that's been built up. Because all we know about him is he's smart and he likes to research. And he's got good moral compass. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
So, realistically, moral compass wise, in organizations, the world government slash Marines is probably the most just, as deplorable as that is. Right? The
Mhm.
Revs is definitely a second best, but the Revs also have a very bad level of publicity. You know what I mean? Just because Vegapunk like did a favor for Kuma doesn't mean he's like ride or die with Kuma. It very well just could have been that it was easier for him to agree to that and then Kuma not resist the transformation.
Uh-huh.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because it's hard because like we know Vegapunk from the flashback with Caesar is like, you know, don't do destructive stuff. We can't let you do like things that cause too much damage. He also lies and stuff like that about like the successful mythical zone that Momo ate. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So it's like we're getting a painted image that Vegapunk's going to be good, but it's like, I mean, he was also friends with Caesar, Judge, and Queen.
Yeah, true. And they actually s- like kind of look at him like he's a dick. Like it is probably just because they're jealous of him.
Yeah,
Also, it's a bit sus that, they all look at him like, man, that asshole Vegapunk.
he thinks he's smarter than me. Screw him.
Yeah, it almost seems like he actually was kind of just as bad as them. He was just better at being bad.
Yeah, like maybe he was just better than them and just went wherever he was allowed to continue whatever experiment he wanted,
Yeah.
which
But
just
it's because
ended
he
up
had
being
like the talent. The world government just sort of backed him, but didn't back the others.
the. Yeah. Um. Okay. If Vegapunk really was a jerk, he could have just mind wiped it after the fact. I mean, he could have, but again, it's like there's a difference between him being a jerk and him just having like not caring for convenience. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He might just be socially inept to the point where the only things that matters to him are his experiments and whatever will sabotage his experiment, right? So
Hmm.
Caesar meddling may have caused blowback to Vegapunk. So he's like, get rid of Caesar so I can continue my experiments unhindered from the world government. You know,
Yeah.
I'll program Kuma this final message or this final mission because he wanted me to. If it means he doesn't resist me working on him in any other capacity, you know,
Yeah.
there is Like, it's implied he's a good guy, but it could just as easily be a massive twist because, like, the rest of the people he's connected with are just definitively not good guys.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Not only does Gold Roger's bloodline die out, but it also riots that all other pirates who are aiming for a spot at the Pirate King throne. The people cheering across the world was haunting. Yet that mob mentality in one of the greatest fears of the planet that we tend to indulge ourselves as if it was sugar. Ooh, that's a good quote. Vegapunk's lineup of scientists is also pretty crazy. Yeah, like, I don't know. Vegapunk's a bit of a mystery at this point in time. It's hard. It's hard to gauge him. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, if you look at his hometown, he was trying to build solar heating for his hometown because it was an ice island. So he was trying to make everything better for everyone, right? But
Yeah.
we also know he's bailed on his hometown and he hasn't come back. You know what I mean? Like, he hasn't continued that research as far as we know. He's bailed on it.
And it could have been. I mean, if he's good, then it could have been like, I have a higher purpose. I need to like fix the world rather than just focusing on one town.
But I mean, and it's crazy to think because, like, timeline wise, Frankie has rebuilt Kizaru's lasers based on Vegapunk's design, yeah.
Yeah.
But he got those blueprints from Vegapunk's hometown, meaning Vegapunk's been sitting on those blueprints for a long while.
Yeah. Okay.
Otherwise, Vegapunk would have gone home within the last couple of years. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Which doesn't make a lot of
It
sense.
could be something like really like complicated. Like, Vegapunk has the same disease that killed Roger, so he doesn't have much time. And he wants to like develop as much technology to like help the world as possible. But every time he develops a technology, the world government just kind of keeps it for all the celestial dragons.
Mm.
You go to the celestial dragon place, so they have like nice heating and like lights and TVs and shit. But then they never give the technology to anyone else. But in
Uh,
Vegapunk's mind, he's like, I'm just going to keep banging out all this technology and leave all of my plans around, and then hopefully
someone will
the
just.
Revs win, take over the world government, and now they have all the technology before I die.
That'd be
He's like, I
interesting.
may as well just bang out as much as I can while I'm here.
Okay, all right. You ready for this?
Hmm?
Let's talk bounties.
Oof. Okay, so the Gumu Gumu chapter, when is that?
4 chapters.
It's not going to be lining up.
No, it is not.
Hmm. We're getting these bounties a lot sooner than I thought. It's
Yeah,
pretty immediate, hey.
yeah. Although, mind you, we may not get them next chapter.
Maybe the Gumu Gumu chapter is going to be the chapter that Luffy like
Because
finds out that he
are
doesn't.
we gonna get the bounties now, like next chapter, where Kid learns about them, or are we gonna learn about it when the Straw Hats learn about it? We know the
We have to get him now. It would be such a tease if we didn't get him now.
yeah,
We have
it
to.
would. It would be an absolute tease.
No, I would be kind of annoyed if we didn't get him
Get it
next
next
chapter.
chapter. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I said, at this point in time, I think this is Luffy's final bounty. Um, but it won't be the Straw Hat Pirates' final bounties. The reason for that is because Luffy is essentially as close to Pirate King as you can be without being Pirate King, and there's not enough time left in the story for another bounty raise, I don't think.
Okay.
I think the world government views him as threatening as he is already. Like, you gotta think, he's strong enough to beat a Yonko, he's got the Nika fruit, it's awakened, and he's got Robin on his crew. What more do you need?
True.
Like, that right there is like threat numero uno outside of Dragon. Which, having beaten Kaido in one-on-one combat, according to them, right?
Hmm.
And having clashed with Big Mum, right? According to them, I'm thinking 5,656,000,000, right? And
Okay.
then I can't remember. I think it's Kyuju. So 5,656,000,000,
Hmm.
2,900. So it'll be Gomu Gomu Nikya.
Okay.
So that works with the naming scheme for both fruits. You know, the Gomu Gomu fruit and the Nika Nika fruit.
Yeah.
I like
5.5 is that what was Kaido's again?
Kaido's was 4.8, 4.6.
Okay. What was Whitebeard's and Rogers?
5, and Rogers was 5.5.
Rogers was 5.5. So Luffy would be just over Roger.
Yes.
It's a good number. That makes sense.
Yes. Right? And mind you, the reason for that is because they can no longer underestimate Luffy and give conservative ideas. You know what I mean? Like,
Well, that's
they,
the thing. He's awakened the fruit now. He is public enemy number 1.
yeah. Outside of Dragon.
Just straight up. Yeah, outside of Dragon, straight up, he is public enemy. But the thing is that even with Dragon, like Dragon's bounty probably be higher, but he is probably more scary right now.
Yes.
It's just that Dragon
So-
distinctly wants to take down the world government and is
So-
working towards.
I think Dragon's bounty will be, and I know this is pretty crazy, right? But I got a bit of a number scheme going on here, right?
Mhm.
So he's regarded as the world's worst criminal, right?
Yeah.
I think his bounty will be 6,666,000,000.
Okay.
So it's like the 666.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I know that's a lot bigger than Whitebeard's and Rogers and Luffy's. The
But
reason
the thing is that Roger and Whitebeard and all that, they were just criminals. They weren't
actively
actively trying to fight against the world government.
yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And so going down the line, right? I reckon Luffy 5,656,2,900. So you got the Gomu Gomu no Nika, right?
Mhm.
Law and Kid will sit around 2,150,000,000, splitting Big Mum's 4,388,000,000 bounty,
Mhm.
right? And this is where it gets a bit tricky, right? Zoro and Sanji will have higher bounties than King and Queen. I couldn't find something that specifically works with the numbering scheme because to me Zoro has to have a numbering scheme that follows like Buddhist teaching. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So I couldn't really find anything that was too well put together for that. But I'm gonna say his bounty is 1.5 bill to 1.8 bill at this point.
This is Zoro?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. I could see it.
And I think Sanji's, if it's not specifically 999 for a gag, right?
Mhm.
It'll be around the same as Zoro's. Or maybe he gets the short end of the stick and just gets 1,333,000,000 and follows that theme. Or say Zoro gets 1,800 ish, yeah?
Yeah.
Sanji gets 1,777,000,000.
Right.
They'll be neck and neck. But like, I don't think a lot of people are going to realize like how big the jump's going to be in bounties here for those like 5 individuals. You know what I mean?
Yeah, the jump is going to be absolutely ridiculous.
Like Zoro and Sanji went from being in the 300 mil range to beating commanders that were in the 300 mil range with 1,000,000,000 berries on top.
Yeah.
Right? So they're going to get insane jumps there. So you know how I said I think Dragon will be 6,660,000,000?
Yep.
If Robin isn't a bill flat, based on the whole archaeology thing, I think a perfect number for her would be 666 mil.
Yeah, that would be perfect.
So it's like you've got the demon child and then the world's worst criminal inflections of each other's bounties.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And following through with that, right? Jinbei's bounty, I think he's not going to crack a bill, unfortunately, but I think he will be sitting. Unfortunately, because he only beat Who's Who, and who's 550-ish, 546 mil,
Mhm.
right? I think he'll only sort of jump to the ballpark of what Perisper's bounty will be, so the 700 to 800 mil range, right?
Okay.
Yamato doesn't necessarily, like I said before, I don't think she'll necessarily get a bounty, but I think she will inherit Odin's old bounty, so we'll find out what Odin's bounty is. It may be in the bill range, it may not. Because at that point in time when Odin was out on the sea, he had Rio, but he didn't necessarily have Advanced Conqueror's Haki.
Yeah.
So he may sort of just be in that ballpark under a bill. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Frankie, I think cleanly has to have over 500 mil. Like, I'm talking clean. The man is like the perfected version of a pacifista at this point in time.
That's true.
He's an absolute weapon, and he just absolutely dumpster dived on Sasaki after publicly driving a bike over Big Mum. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So like the problem's going to be like certain Straw Hats didn't do a lot in front of people noteworthy. You know what I mean? But the Straw Hats
Well,
that did do stuff in front of people that were noteworthy or that did take down people will get that recognition.
yeah, you have to think the recognition that's happening is coming from um Music Man,
Yeah,
and what he's probably done is he's probably gone around and just gossiped with everybody
yeah,
over the course of this week, and then like gotten all the stories from everyone, and then told the world government or told Big News Morgan or something like that.
yeah.
Yeah.
I see chat putting their theory in there for what Killer's bounty will be. I'm sorry, guys. I'm thinking Killer may unfortunately only get around the 600 mil mark. Um, yes, he clashed with Big Mom Kaido up on the rooftop, but that wasn't really well known. And the main thing he did was defeat Hawkins, right? And I think a lot of the thing that's going to come for Killer's hype, because Killer's bounty at the moment is only 200 mil. You know what I mean? So him getting 600 mil will be tripling his bounty.
Yeah.
He didn't do a hell of a lot this arc. You know what I'm
I
saying?
think I think it'll all depend because if if Kid genuinely gets called
An
Emperor,
emperor.
Killer has to have higher. Because the thing is that like Kid doesn't really have any like many significant people other than Killer under him. So if Killer is 600, then you've basically got like an Emperor who's on like 2 point something mil bill um as an Emperor, and then everyone like the strongest person under him is 600 mil.
Yeah.
It just seems kind of like he's
So
not an Emperor.
so hear this out for a second, right? And this is very specific, and I've got this up on panel now. It's all in there. Your updated bounty and the names of those who have been newly dubbed Emperors of the Sea.
Yeah.
So it's like your bounty has been updated and it's in there, but there's also those who have been dubbed Emperors.
Yeah, but those can also just
I know,
mean like
I know.
people.
I'm definitely specifically choosing my inflection there, but the problem is I can't even take away from it because what was like I don't think none of the Blackbeard pirates had a bounty of 600 mil when they became a Yonko, as far as we know. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like it may just be that like Kid is like the new up and coming Yonko, and he just gets a little bit more credit than Law for having the final shot on Big Mom. And so even though Killer only took down Hawkins, who's worth 320 mil, he more than doubles his bounty because his captain's also going to be a Yonko.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Unfortunately, though, right, I don't think so. Nami should get a reasonable boost. I think she will get credit for taking down Ulti, so she should be around 400 ish. I know that's crazy. I'm thinking maybe a little bit less. So if you think like 300 and something, like
Mm-hmm.
316, that makes sense for Nami. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Um, but unfortunately, I don't think Brooke Chopper and Usopp are really going to get a big bounty increase. I think what they'll get is the same thing that the Green Fleet will get, which is a stock standard at least 100 mil increase. Maybe a little bit more because they participated in the battle. Because you got to think, that would put Usopp at 300 mil, Brook at 180 mil, and Chopper just will be a gag. You know what I mean? Because it's going to be hard. I can see Chad already being upset that I said Killer will only get 600 mil and they think it will be at least a bill. Killer's feats this arc haven't really been present for... I mean, look at Apu, right? Even if you were right and Apu went around getting the stories, you know what I mean? Kid and Law only just found out that he was alive here, yeah?
Yeah.
The only people that know what Killer did on the roof is Killer, Kid, Law, Luffy, Zoro.
Yeah, but I mean, like, they would have known that he was on the roof. And that he came down and wasn't, like, injured and then beat...
The only thing they
what's her name?
technically would know is that he fought Hawkins and beat Hawkins.
Well, they would have found out that he was one of the people that went on the roof, surely. It would be like well documented. Like everyone would be talking to each other, and they'd be like, "Who was on the roof at the start?" And they'd be like, "Oh, it was these five."
I don't know. It could. I could see it being reasonable that he gets shafted in that regard, especially because
I think his bounty's probably going to be around like the same as
you got to think.
Sanji.
You got to think now. His bounty's only 200 mil right now.
Yeah, I know, but like I mean, kids is only like 500, right?
Not even.
600, something like that.
Not even.
Kid.
Yeah, it's 470.
Right, and yeah, but yeah. So
Yeah.
I mean, kid's going to go up to 2 bill or something like that. Everyone's
Yeah.
been saying.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it'll all depend. Like I see it as a possibility if Kid isn't named a Yonko, but if he is named a Yonko, it has to
See,
be the...
you see what I mean by it's hard for the Yonko thing right now. You know what I mean? Because would Kid be named a Yonko over Law?
We don't know.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, like, to me, that...
Because the thing is that Law, it would have been known that like Law was allied with Luffy, right? And
Yeah.
so it would have been like Luffy and Law's alliance took down the 2 Yonko.
Yes.
That's like what the headline would have been, and then
Yeah.
it would have been like Luffy and Law's alliance
Team
took
up with
down
the
2
Kid
Yonko,
Pirates.
and they teamed up with the Kid Pirates. Yeah.
Yeah. Unless this is a Pooh's way of apologizing to Kid by, like, gassing up his bounty and exploits. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
yo, man, I know I backstabbed you. Don't kill me, but, you know, I got you that clout. I got you some of that... Which I love that Apu has his number here. That's his, like... So, like, Kid's got Killer. Law has useless Mr. Beppo, the Sulong. And Apu's just got a number now. I think that's funny. You know what I mean? I mean, Killer Nerf Zoro, that's an achievement. So, the Killer versus Zoro thing was interesting, yes. But this is the problem where people have to be aware of this stuff for it to matter for their bounty. Like, none of the stuff that happened in Sky P mattered, so they didn't get bounties for it, you know what I mean? So, this could be a moment where it's like, Kid gets declared an emperor or something ridiculous like that. Like, maybe Law doesn't get the credit for taking out Big Mom at all, and Kid just gets all of it. You know what I mean? So maybe Killer does get a bigger boost. But it's like, Killer's bigger boost is still going to be significantly less than, like, Zoro and Sanji.
The other thing to consider, though, is that seemingly some other kind of like side plot with Law. Law wants to find out about the D and what's going on with the D, and it seems like Law's kind of like tied in with that.
Ooh.
In a sense, even if he's just like the mouthpiece that we hear it from, and it all matters only towards Luffy.
No.
Law has some kind of significance there.
Oi, pull up. Chat just pointed out something phenomenal.
Hmm?
We don't see Robin this chapter anyway.
Mm.
Surely the reason we don't see her is because she's gone searching for that missing poneglyph.
Yeah.
And not because she's been successfully kidnapped.
Yeah. Next chapter, we might see her with that poneglyph, and then she'll say some shit like, "Oh, cool! Now I have like 6 poneglyphs to tell everybody about. This is really interesting. My captain will really want to know this." And then suddenly, Rainbow shows up.
Maybe. Because going through here, she's not in the bath scene or anything.
Mhm.
Ooh, that's nerve-wracking. Surely she's just reading the poneglyphs, and that's what she's doing. So, okay. Bounties. Okay, bounties in Green Bull, right? What if the Straw Hats don't find out their bounties before they get off this? So say Kid reads it, finds out the bounty of like this sort of stuff here, and then shit hits the fan where they all have to leave, and the Straw Hats don't find out until they leave. And we don't find out until the Straw Hats find out. But we see what Kid and Law's reaction is to it.
Right.
You know what I mean? So say
Mhm.
next chapter opens up, we see their reactions to the bounty. Before we find out what the bounties are, we cut away to Robin searching for the poneglyphs, right? Then we have Robin having found the poneglyphs, say Greenbull shows up or something, kidnaps her or whatever, right? And the Straw Hats are forced to leave to go chase after. So the arc's done by chapter 1054, right? 1055 is like a reaction of what's going around the world, resulting in 1056, which is Gomu, where we finally, I don't know, that's a long way away now, 4 chapters, bloody hell, where we finally get the bounties.
Again, though, I'll be pretty triggered if we don't get the bounties.
Oh, dude. Okay, it's gonna be hard because I'm gonna need to stay off all social media this week outside of streaming. And even then, like chat, you're gonna have to protect me because if I get spoiled for the bounties, I'm gonna cry.
If they give like the bounties and then they say like, oh, and Luffy's, and then they kind of cut away and like we don't get Luffy's until then, I'm okay.
Yeah.
If they leave that hanging and then they just don't say anything about it for the next 4 chapters, that's gonna be so annoying.
We need to get that scene back in like Makino bar, like Party's bar, right? With Makino. Where she's reading the newspaper and she's tearing up and she's like, Luffy, soon you're gonna have to repay me your debt. We're getting closer. Could Greenbull be there to get Robin though? That's what I was saying earlier. So Greenbull seems like he's either there for one of 3 things, right? Start conflict to thank the Straw Hats, to get Robin or Drake and dip.
Um, I mean, when we say he's there for 3 things, Keanu could have given him an order, which is why he's there. But then he could also have his own reason
See,
he wants to be there.
I think
So like it seems like Akino is literally saying like don't do anything unless you absolutely have to. So it could be that he's just there as reconnaissance.
he's going on his own fruition, and Akino's like, "Yo, what are you doing?" And he's like, "Oh, I'm just at one." And it's like, "What? Don't do anything dumb." That's my reading of it. Like Akino didn't send him there. He's just like, "What are you? Whatever. Just don't do anything unnecessary." You know what I mean?
Okay. I read it as like he's going there because of Akino. And then the other thing is that wasn't Fuji supposed to go?
No, we we no one's been supposed to go. The only person that was potentially going to go was Kizaru when he offered to go take out Kaido Big Mom.
But I mean, wasn't Fuji supposed to not like hunt down the Straw Hats no matter what?
Yes,
Don't come back to a military base until you have.
yes, but he was also being. Last time we saw him was seemingly in the Calm Belt, maybe going after Boa.
Right.
We've got no idea where he is, though. To be fair,
Mm.
so it's odd. You know what I mean? Chat. What's your thoughts? What's Green Bull's Devil Fruit? I want to know what other people are thinking about this right now. Yeah. I do think 100 mil clean for all the Grand Fleet. So think about that though, because like it's big enough for the Straw Hats to get bounty boosts. You know what I mean? But think about like Cavendish having like a 430 mil bounty,
Mhm.
Barto having a 300 mil bounty, Sai having a 300 mil bounty. You know what I mean? Or Lumbers having a 250 mil bounty. Like
Yeah.
in terms of a fleet, that would be the highest numbered fleet we've seen so far, wouldn't it? Just off that,
Yeah, true.
it's gonna be wild. Gonna be absolutely wild. I wonder though if with the bounty increases, are we gonna get bounty increases for people like Sachi, Penguin, Beppo, Heat, and Wire, or is it just gonna completely ignore them?
Mm.
Because this would be a really cool thing where imagine instead of the normal wanted posters,
Yeah.
imagine a triple page spread, right? Where it's like page one, the Heart Pirates updated bounties. Page two, the Kid Pirates updated bounties. Page 4 to 5, and you open it, and it's the Straw Hats and Grand Fleet updated bounties.
Right.
That would be pretty bloody wild, wouldn't it?
Yeah, true.
Chat saying, I feel like Plant Fruit is too general, and maybe Green Bull is a man who's got knowledge on pop greens. I mean, he's got the Plant Fruit, so what? We've got Fuji and Zoro to fight, Sanji and Kizaru to fight, Usopp and his pop greens versus Green Bull. Is that what we're doing? I
Here's something to mention as well. Nika is the god of the sun, right?
Yes.
And in Sky, I think it's Skypiea. I don't know. They meant no. Anyway, they mention at some point there's like a god of the sun, god of the rain, god of the
That's Sky
forest, and
Island.
god of the earth.
Yeah.
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 So maybe
God of the
Green
Forest.
Bull is the god of the forest.
The human fruit model forest god.
He's gonna
Or,
go there and he's
okay,
gonna explain what
no.
all things are. And then maybe Dragon is the rain, and then Im is the earth.
Imagine this, because this would actually be hilarious, right?
Hmm?
Human fruit model Mother Nature.
Yeah, I was thinking that as well.
That'd be, and it'd be ironic that a guy gets like a woman-based mythical fruit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because Green Bull's whole thing as well is like, if a pretty lady fed me, I'd eat it.
Mhm.
Maybe imagine the funny of it is like when he's hungry, he like grows a vine and that, and it looks like a woman that like drops grapes in his mouth or something.
Yeah, right.
There'd be some funny stuff you could do there. Usopp unlocks his full observation haki in that fire because he has to be motivated to flee from Green Bull. Dude, imagine that, like, Usopp's pop greens are like a perfect counter for Green Bull, but he's still completely outclassed. He's just like, and his like eyes glowing red, just turns into like a demigod for like 10 minutes just to survive.
Hmm.
What are your thoughts on next chapter? What do you reckon's gonna happen next chapter?
Bounties.
Just
Really?
the bounties?
Whatever Green Bull's up to, I'm hoping we keep seeing that. I'm hoping basically all the things that they left open aren't going to be skipped.
I think next chapter. It's hard, right? If next chapter's not bounties, next chapter's definitively, I think, gonna open up with the poneglyphs.
Yeah.
Like, I think stylistically opens up with the kid reacting to the bounties, and then it cuts away with like information of what's in the news. Cuts to Robin finding out about that stuff. Cuts back to the Straw Hats being like, "Yo, let's celebrate or something." And then maybe it ends with like a commotion in town that turns out to be Green Bull, right?
Hmm.
See, 2 chapters. I don't know how we can wrap this up cleanly in 2 chapters with Green Bull. You know what I mean?
Yeah, true.
Unless Green Bull doesn't come into play until they're leaving. So, like, instead of 2 chapters, he comes in play in the 3rd chapter.
I don't know. I think it might literally just be like a short conversation or something.
Mm.
Maybe they're long chapters.
It's so hard, isn't it?
Yeah. I just realized this thing that I clicked on when I tried to look up the 4 gods and what they were because I'd forgotten.
Yep.
I read through it and it's literally exactly what I just said. It's
Yep.
the theory of if he's the sun, dragons the rain, etc.
Yeah. Although, maybe Imu as the rain, because Imu backwards is Umi, which is sea.
Yeah, right. But then again, like when dragons showed up, it's raining.
Yeah, but he's more wind, isn't he?
Yeah. I mean, rain could be wind. Like it could just be like the weather in general. I
Mm.
don't know.
Mm. Maybe I still want to know. Like,
Then
imagine
who's
if
the Earth is the question.
whoever the Earth is. What are you talking? It's Pika. Pika Pika.
Because we're not gonna get 3 of them and not a 4th. You know what I mean? Might be that we only get 2. Like it might be that it's only Luffy and one other person.
That's
But I
hard.
feel like as soon as we get 3, in my mind is like, oh, there has to be all 4 then.
Whew, I cannot stop yawning. I am absolutely knackered today.
Yeah. Still got 1 exam to go.
Oh, love it. Cooking yourself an omelette as we speak. Kuma, how cruel of you to dangle food in front of me like that. I'm trying to go through now because it's really weirding me out that Robin's not here. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, ooh, okay. Could we have a Robin at a poneglyph trying to read it? CP0 shows up and then Green Bull interferes? Or Drake interferes?
Mm-hmm. Possible, yeah.
That'd be interesting because we also don't see, like, we see Drake at the beginning and we know he's alive, and it cuts to a week later. We don't see Drake's ship getting fixed up or anything like that, do we?
Yeah, true.
And Drake, being a member of Sword, would be more on point with, like, the secret aspects of the world. You know what I mean? So, ooh, I don't know. It's so hard, man, because, like, we're still, like... there's no definitive setup for what to happen next. There's a setup for, like, all hell to break loose, but that's it. Also, I don't know if you saw, did you know that there was confirmation that the last arc isn't starting, it's the last saga. So
Oh,
the
okay,
last
cool.
batch of arcs.
Yeah, cool.
That is important to clarify there, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. That means there could still be like a significant Elbaf and stuff like that kind of arc.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I was even thinking though, like when you think about it, all those arcs like Arlong Park and Baratier and all of that did seem like they had their own self-contained stories with characters that were like reasonably significant that we still remember. Like,
And there were like 20
you know
chapters.
what I mean? Like, yeah, it's possible that he can just write like 20 chapter arcs that are actually like pretty decent. Like,
Mm-hmm.
it is possible that he can do Elbaf in 20 chapters and it's pretty cool and it has a villain and all that stuff. You know, he doesn't have to do 200 chapter arcs every goddamn arc.
Mm-hmm. Nah, it'll definitely be interesting.
So yeah, it is possible that like there could be like 200 chapters left in the series. That's it, and it's basically just one big saga of many arcs.
Yeah. It'll be interesting. Current time at our place, it's only 5 o'clock where we are at the moment. It's just late nights at the moment.
Yeah.
I don't
And you
think
do
I've.
have work in Halfa as well.
Yes, yes. And I've got to get off early enough for you to get ready for that, so we'll get off in the next 10. Um,
Mhm.
yeah, no, it's not that it's late for us. It's just I don't know about you, Eggs, but I don't get to bed before midnight, and I work full time as well. So I get under
Yeah.
6 hours of sleep a night, on top of doing this, working full time, and other.
Yeah, I've just been studying, so I've been staying up late.
Um, shit, man. Whatever Greenville's power is, it's gonna be explosively crazy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, you know what's funny is that he seems like a pretty wacky dude, and if he is that like god of the forest or whatever, and he's like just flying around with like a little plant on his back, and he's just a bit weird and out there, it would kind of match like Luffy's Joey Boy thing. Could just be like all the gods are just super extra.
oh, dude, look at Sengoku. Sengoku's fruit is the only one that makes him super cereal, and it's just like, nah.
Yeah.
Um. Okay, so everyone's getting bounty updates. Do you reckon someone like a Pooh's gonna get a bounty update?
I don't know.
Because he's the one that
Sounds
was gassing
sketchy.
everything up and survived.
Yeah, surely he gasses himself up. He's like, oh yeah, and I fought against a kid and
Yo!
Zoro and
Yo! Could you imagine if a Pooh's like, yeah, Roronoa Zoro took down King after fighting Kaido and Big Mom, and even he couldn't cut me down. Gives, like, a Pooh comes out with like a billion, like some crazy bounty, just like, what, man? It's the truth? That'd be funny as hell, wouldn't it?
and then
600 mil?
Kid just goes, oh good, that means I get a big payday.
Yeah. Yes. Oh. I still. I take it if we're leaving in 2 chapters, we're not going to get any sea stone. Like, the crew's not going to take any sea stone with them.
Yeah, no, probably not.
Which
Haven't
is.
really like, they mentioned it, but they haven't harped on it that hard. It hasn't really been like a major thing.
Dude, it
They
has!
just talk about it a lot.
What are you talking about? The beginning of the arc.
Really? They just said, yeah, that's the thing. They just said like, oh yeah, this is the place that all the sea stone comes from, and then they had that meeting with the CP0 agents.
Dude, we've had sea stone nails, sea stone bullets, sea stone cuffs.
Yeah, but that's the thing is like that's just kind of like the things that you would expect from the island that does sea stone.
True.
It could just be that like this, like it's just a way for Oda to kind of add some more world building. Like people thinking, where the hell does sea stone come from?
Yeah, but
Okay,
like,
well, here's your answer. It comes from Wano.
as if Usopp's here and isn't like, oh, this is the home place of sea stone. Maybe I should take some sea stone ball bearings just in case I need to like snipe someone.
Yeah, it could, but they could also just do that like after. You know what I mean? He could have picked it up during this past week.
True. True, true,
They
true,
were
true.
waiting, and then later on, he's like, "I've got sea stone now. Screw you!" and they start shooting people.
Oh, dude. So, because of the chat just reminded me, because we're going on a month break, imagine the cliffhanger he's going to leave us on.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, no. Because you know it's going to be the biggest cliffhanger. Like, the last time he did this was a time skip. You know what I mean? This is...
Yeah.
Oh. What do you... what do you think the next arc's going to be? Do you reckon we're just going to mosey on over to Elbaf?
Um.
Or maybe a montage?
I don't know. I think we still have to get these the next 2 chapters. We have to have a reason for where we're going to go. Maybe
Yeah.
that's what Green Bull does. Maybe he says, "Trust me, Luffy, go to Elbaf."
Or... Or maybe we don't get that and we get you know, a little montage of them sailing around to a few different places, and it's like 1 week later or a couple of weeks later. But
Yeah.
it's gonna be hard because it's like, dude,
Well, the other thing is like if they do get Robin, well, we have our new destination. Go
yeah,
after Robin, and then save Sabo, and then but then that's the thing is like if we go after Robin, and then she's kept with near Sabo, and then now it's like okay, we're already fighting the world government.
yeah.
Jesus, what's going to happen? Is Blackbeard going to be like above him? He's going to be the final villain before we hit the One Piece, and we hit the One Piece at the end.
Although, shit,
Which
mind
point,
you,
like Luffy's essentially taken over the entire world, and then now he has to fight Blackbeard for the One Piece. It's like it's kind of weird.
We're gonna get a face reveal for Green Bull, Vegapunk, and Im really soon, since this is the final saga.
Yeah, true.
That's gonna be wild. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Yo, the way kids looking at this newspaper though, I'm looking at it and like sometimes you can get some cheeky details from it. I've noticed that it's
True.
a big. It looks like it's a double cover, right? Remember when the reverie was going on and Morgan's was like, front to double cover, front and back.
Yeah.
This looks like it's the same thing because you see the World Ec, but you don't see the World Economic Journal, so it like wraps around the full spine of the book as well onto the other side.
Yeah.
So whatever the news is in there, it's like double page worthy.
Yeah, that's true.
So, and I mean, look, mind you, taking down 2 Yonkers would be like, "Yew, get it on the boys." But this is what, a week later? Do you think it would have taken them
Yeah.
a week to announce that?
Announce the new bounties.
Well, the new bounties, yes, but like a week to announce the Yonkos have gone down, or what? Like,
All right.
what else is in there?
I mean, I think if the news hit Big News Morgan's, it's out within the day.
Yeah. Yo, it's a week, and the big mum pirates that were down never rocked up.
Yeah.
Oof. Surely, whatever Greenville does, it cuts back, and you know those world government ships that are down there?
Uh-huh.
It cuts back to when like Greenville gets back to them, and they've captured like Smoothie in that. Surely.
Yeah, that would make sense.
Otherwise, that's like, ooh, where?
That's the thing. We just haven't heard from them at all this entire time. Remember, like at the start, it's like, oh, when are they going to rejoin the fight? They're going to like,
Yeah,
join in at a random time, and then are they going to be on Kaido's side because they don't know that they're allied? It never happened.
yeah. And that's what I mean. It's like, dude, so many Chekhov's guns that never came into. Like, dude, tell me what Zunisha did. Zunisha showed up and went, "It's Joy Point, bye."
Yeah.
Dead ass, you know what I mean?
Yeah. True.
Maybe took all the minks that were fighting away as well. Was like, yeah, let's get rid of those minks. We'll only keep like Nekomamushi, Inarashi, and all that. And yo, actually, even speaking of, in the path scene, we don't even see Inarashi. Only Nekomamushi's here.
True.
Or is it because of day and night? No, the cat's the night dog. Night ruler. Yo, where's Inarashi?
I mean, they don't have to show everyone this chapter.
No, but it's odd that they show Nekomamushi and not him.
True. Although Neko's more of the main one, right?
I think it's pretty even.
I just mean like shown more.
Yeah,
People
no,
seem to like Neko more.
I think they've been shown pretty evenly throughout the story.
In like Neko was literally the one that stood on the roof and like announced to everyone.
True
Yeah.
that. It's just because he's got that big happy face. Maybe Oda's going to take a break in order to prep for the next arc. I wouldn't mind if Oda had to take a month in order to get his bearings together. I agree, but the thing is, although he's prepping for the final arc, or the final saga, right?
Mhm.
He's still working on this, you know what I mean? Like, he's still aware of what's happening. You know what I mean? So, like, him just taking a break isn't for him to be like, okay, what do I do next? He already knows what he's going to do next. That break is to be like, how do I execute what happens next?
Mhm.
I don't think Elbat just after Wano. I would like if they meet someone like Gaban. What if Big Mum pirates save Big Mum and Kaido and get away? The way this arc ended, I don't think Kaido and Big Mum can be alive.
No, No, they're not.
Like,
Big time not.
I think it makes, like, realistically, if you had to kill someone, right? Like,
Mhm.
lava's semi-solid, semi-liquid, yeah?
Mhm.
If you had to kill a devil fruit user that's, like, unkillable, the best thing to do is knock them out, keep them unconscious, and submerge them in a liquid that burns you to death.
Yeah.
Like, there's... Like, and even then, they were still in the lava for a while without burning.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
How cracked would it be if, like, in the final war, you just have like these two random people in Wano's like little army, and they have Big Mom and Kaido's fruits because they're like, yeah, man, we just kept feasting, and then suddenly, two of our civilians just ate the
Dude.
respawned Kaido, and it's like you've got
Yo, imagine how
this
risky...
random Joe Blow who turns into a dragon.
Oh, dude. As if there isn't going to be a scene at some point in the story where, like, a devil fruit spawns on the sunny or something like that. And Luffy goes to, like, steal food. Like, they've run out of meat, and he goes to steal food, like a tangerine or something. And someone's got to knock it out of his hands and go, what are you doing? That's clearly not a normal fruit. He's like, but I'm hungry. And it's like, Luffy, you'll die. And it's like, but food. I'm surprised that's not a gag that's going to play out eventually. Yo, crazy though. How tall is Momo? He's even taller than Yamato.
Yeah. His body is like a tank.
Dude, he a big, beefy boy.
I love it how they say to him like, "Oh, wow, you better thank your parents for having such a strong body." And I'm like, "Wait, but doesn't he have a dragon fruit though? Like, isn't that
Oh mate,
doesn't that make him tough, not just the
it's
genetic?"
it's all the Odin genes. It's
Mm.
all the Odin genes.
And plus Turkey. Turkey's kind of significant as well.
Yeah, but I don't know. That Odin, you know what I mean? Them
Yeah.
strong swimmers. Instead of like a tadpole tail, it's just like one beefy. It's just like one beefy leg that's just flexing back and forth. Okay, we should wrap the stream up here. All right, it's getting late and I'm tired and hungry. Final thoughts or final things you want to say about this chapter or next chapter?
I'm keen for it.
Keen for it. If it is bounties, chat. If it is bounties, say in the Discord to just avoid social media. You know what I mean?
If
Like,
anyone gets spoiled, take the bullet and warn us all so that we don't cop it as well.
yeah. Like, every now and then you get a little bit spoiled for you. Sometimes it gets you hyped. Sometimes it's like, oh, I wish I didn't know that. This is one of those times where it's just like, you don't want anyone to see your face until you see that for the first time. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Um, just before we go, we got some last comments. Imagine Luffy, Kobe, Drake at one place. They would just be. I feel like it would just be a like Kobe simping over Luffy. Luffy going, ugh, yeah, I miss you too, but like, give me some space. And Drake going, why does he like you so much? You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But I'll be keen for Drake. It'd be low key. Do you know what would actually be cool?
Mm.
If Drake joins Law's crew. But he won't because he's a Marine. He'll go back to the Marines.
Mm.
But it would be interesting if Drake joined Law's crew. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because then you got Kid and Killer with a Supernova in the crew, and you got Law and Drake. Final question: Kuma's famous final questions for the arc. Shoot. But yeah, no, dude, I really want to see the bounties for just random people. Like, give me some bounties for Kid's lesser crew members, Law's lesser crew members, and that before hyping up how big the Straw Hats are. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, imagine having like the number 3 on Kid and Law's crew being like having a bounty as like big as the weakest member of this Grand Fleet. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
It would just be a good way to hype up Yonko Luffy. Okay, mutton chops, sideburns, pompadour, goatee, bob cut, frosted tips, bowl cut, braids. Out of these styles, which straw hat would you give them to? Well, I mean, Frankie's got the mutton chops outright, doesn't he? Imagine if
Well,
Hawkins joined.
yeah. Frankie is the mutton chops.
Imagine if Hawkins joined Law's crew, cuts the doctor, gave him back his arm. Wait. Oh, Hawkins joins Law's crew and Law gives him back an arm. That would be cool. If the magician lived. That would be cool. That would be cool. Okay. Mutton chops are Frankie. Sideburns also Frankie. Pompadour? Ironically enough. Ooh. Ironically enough, I could see Luffy with the pompadour being like a mafioso sort of thing, like trying to be a Yakuza. You know what I mean? Goatee Sanji. Bob cut.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure we've already seen Frankie with a bob cut, haven't we?
Yeah, let's go Brook for the bob cut.
Frosted Tips Nami.
Frosted tips? No, don't you have to have short hair for frosted tips?
No.
That's not. I think frosted tips look like really cringe on guys, which is funny. I reckon I'm going frosted tips on Zoro.
I could see that. Bowl cut
Zoro
also
with
Frankie.
with the frosted tips.
Dude, frog bowl cut Frankie. I could see Robin get some braids and that. Yeah, that works. He will because of 1% of Oda, 90%, 99% of the story. So Hawkins will survive. Did Hawkins? Okay, despite how the chapter opened, do you think Hawkins landed that 1% survival rate? Because
I don't know.
I feel like it's implied pretty heavy that that's him saying like, yeah, I had no shot. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I can definitely see it. But yeah, I'd say he's probably gone. Say he's dead.
Which is a shame because I still feel like we never got to see him go all out. Like,
Yeah.
we never got to see his best cards and stuff like that.
Lost like 2 or 3 times.
Yeah.
He's done.
Look, he's the Jack of the Supernova. Hyped
See,
up.
that's the thing. It feels like we haven't seen him go all out because he just kind of has nothing.
Kuma's coming to his defense,
He's
but
got more.
Hawkins don't got plot armor. I'm sorry, man. It's not the plot armor. What do you mean the plot armor? The plot armor is his fruit that I can die over and over and over again. You know what I mean?
The fact that Kinemon is alive is absolutely ridiculous.
Bruh. This is what does my head in, where it's like One Piece characters' durability is crazy, but it's normally only on like blunt force trauma. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, Ashura Doji can get stabbed and then exploded by a little bit of TNT and it'll kill him, right? But you can be punched through a continent and be alive and just pass out. Get back up a couple days later.
Like, what's his name? Fucking didn't Kaido wasn't he like laying on the ground and Kaido just like smashed his hammer straight into the dude's face while his head was on the ground?
Oh yes, that did
Am I
happen at one point.
misremembering that?
No, that did happen when they were on the roof, and then when they got down off the roof, he got back up and was like, he tried to stab Kaido in the side, and Kaido cracked him over the back of the head.
Here's the thing: like, if a human being smacked another human being with like a baseball bat in the head when their head was on the ground, you will likely
You will kill them. You will.
Yeah, you will most likely kill that person.
Mm.
So, like, the fact that a giant, like an Oni with like a massive spiked metal hammer, like, no, you don't survive that. And he wasn't defending either. He didn't use Haki to block that. He just took it.
Yeah, he ate it. That's why I get really like iffy on what Conqueror's Haki does in terms of like a destructive force. You know what I mean?
With the amount of force that Kaido swung that with, his body should have literally exploded.
Goodbye, Kinemon. We will remember you.
In my mind, he's just dead. Every like panel that has just Kinemon in it, I'm like, what's this empty panel?
He's just been liquefied. But that's the thing, like as sad as it is, if Kinemon didn't survive, how would the story be any different right now? Especially since his wife seemingly died. You know what I mean? And mind you, I feel like this feels weird, right? Because there's like 2 chapters left before the arc's over. I feel like the last chapter needs to have like a rundown of around Wano where people are celebrating, where we see the like it's changed. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah, that is what it is. What do you think Ace would say about the Yamato Luffy team up? I think he would say, "No wonder you had to team up with my brother because you're a pleb." Because Ace loves talking shit to everyone. That's my dude. He's Mister. Oh, if you like, he's like Obi-Wan. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like Ace just like, dude. Ace showed up. Luffy starts shit talking. He's like, "Oh yeah," and then like Luffy backs out. He's like, "Yeah, you suck." Rocks up with Buggy and he's like, "Oh, you know what, dude?" And Buggy's like, "Yeah, man, he's a monster." He's like, "Yeah, you shut up, man." You know what I mean? Like Ace is a wildfire, man. He just goes through burning people. He's nice. I love him, but he's a bit of a he's a bit of a psycho. Uh, but there's no point of it because of Hat. I don't know what Hat is. Anyway, we're gonna call the stream there. All right, Daniel, say your thing.
I think.
You peace. Nothing but love, nothing but respect. Have a damn good day. Cheers for coming by. Until the next video or until the next chapter of One Piece and all that good stuff, peace. Have a damn good day. Goodbye.